Hi, Chris Paff from Chris Paff Tech Media, LLC, and back again in the Blue Room here at Lotion. My guest now is Jatin Dev, who is the broadcast and entertainment lead for Google. He comes from London, and it's fantastic to see you, and of course you just presented. But talk about how you look at this industry from what you're doing and your journey to this moment.
Well, first of all, thank you, Chris, for inviting me here. It's been great. This is my second year coming to Northern Waves. I've been in the broadcast space and video streaming space for about 10 years. Spent most of the time in India at the beginning, and I think I got lucky because the video streaming ecosystem in India really exploded with the slashing of data prices in 2016. So we, from a traditional TV market, we completely changed to like a video first or streaming first market in like span of 2 years. I remember at 2019, I think there were about 33 OTTs in the country, like way more than anywhere else in the world. Everybody was trying to build a service and consumers were coming online. And now, I mean, I've lived in the UK for about like 1.5 years now, but the numbers showcase that there were 500 million OTT viewers in India at this point in what span of 5 years. So the journey has been amazing. And that basically gave me an opportunity to, work with the best of the minds in this ecosystem, build the right connections. Journey to UK happened because, I'd seen the growth phase of it, and I also wanted to see that how the different part of the different geography and different, more mature player in this industry, actually, how do they operate? And here I am.
And it's fascinating because, of course, as you mentioned, the Indian market, mostly through mobile initially, as you mentioned, the slashing of data prices, but also through different sort of aggregations of content. I mean, we're familiar, for example, in the U.S. with AHA, which has made an entry into North America. But in this market, of course, you have homegrown players who have been doing some really fascinating work in streaming for years, which is harder for bigger players, the Netflixes, as Knut Arne mentioned, and even HBO Max to come in. But I mean, you're a very powerful provider of all kinds of services. I mean, most people would say, oh, well, Jatin's Google, so that's Google Cloud, right? But this is a great opportunity for you to work with not just the service providers, but also some of the tech vendors here as well.
Absolutely. I think, Chris, one of the great things about Google is that how diverse it is inside in terms of its, obviously people and the background that they bring with, but also the host bouquet of solutions that we provide, streaming from every single endpoints. Like one of my core jobs is also to bring the best of cross-functional Google partnerships to an end customer, especially in broadcast industry. So let's say any XYZ publisher, what their broadcasting partnership is with YouTube, or let's say what's their partnership with cloud, what's on the ad side, which is my core product. But I would also ensure that we are presenting a unified front to that customer so that it's not like creating ruckus, but we have a stronger proposition, both in terms of management of that solution/partnerships, but also a better support to the end user.
Right, and of course, I'm quite familiar with what your mission is with Google Ads, and but the representation is so much stronger, and of course, there's been so much learning through Chromecast, and of course, that large entity known as YouTube, which keeps growing and growing, and has done very well in the cord-cutting conundrum in the U.S., but I don't know if you can talk about YouTube in this conversation vis-a-vis the Nordics, but I think it'd be a fascinating opportunity.
Yeah, YouTube is an interesting one. Like it was started off as a semi-social media platform, which became it was like a short-form video platform before short-form video platform was a thing, right? But now we have seen like the long form really exploding on it, and connected TV as a device is huge for YouTube, and which makes us think about that what's our long-term strategy in this particular space could be. Obviously in US we have other propositions like YouTube a la carte, YouTube Primetime. We just launched a deal. It's external information now, basically with DAZN about YouTube and their content through the Primetime channels. So we are innovating in this space. Not that for the first time, we tried in the past as well. tried a few sort of deals with content providers. But I think right now we're thinking of it in long term. And again, for our broadcast partners, I think it's very important that while the first distribution point is their own OTT platform, but more often than not, especially in the international market, we see that any broadcaster would want to test the audience in that region. Let's say a Nordic broadcaster in somewhere in Southern Europe wants to see that, hey, how users like its content. Do they want to invest in a full stack proposition back in let's say Spain? YouTube would provide that information, what the demographics are, the viewership, the affinity of different audience, and it sort of feeds into the OTT proposition again.
Yeah, and you mentioned DAZN, of course, which I think is fantastic work that you've done, because it also points to what Google can do with a virtual MVPD. And DAZN, not for nothing, was mentioned as an alternative in the recent Disney charter spat. So there are millions of people who didn't know DAZN before who now do. That's a little bit separate to what you've done with them, but I just think that there are so many more opportunities for you to work with such companies, given the innovation you have, but also the intelligence.
Absolutely, and I think, Chris, that was one of the core fundamental of the narrative that I presented today, which was, we now provide a lot more flexibility in terms of our solution than we did before. Obviously, being a multi-billion user endpoint company, it's great to build those products which are used by billions of people, but then it also comes with challenges that you need to be more, you can't be more flexible every single time, because you have to stick to some standards, you have to stick to some scales. But on our business-to-business proposition, B2B proposition, we're starting to become a lot more flexible in our ad tech. And now last year when I was here, I talked about this fancy video case study which we built with DAZN about how our single stack proposition is powering their both VOD and live at scale and driving the programmatic efficiencies as well. But now I think we have more solutions in place which give a broadcaster choices to pick what they want. Like, do they want to pick the full turnkey solution, or do they want to pick a certain element of it while still accessing the benefits of Google Demand, Google Scale, efficiency and support? You can have that choice. And we're building more and more around the same theme.
Yeah, and I think, I'm seeing what you've been doing also with YouTube Shorts and some of the things that you can bring to the table that would also play into potentially fast channel development in this market. Which maybe has been a little slower than other parts of Europe, but there's enormous opportunity given, really, I think the amount of creativity that's here too. I mean, is that something that you found?
Absolutely. Again, I mean, it depends on which market is speaking to us. Obviously, we've seen short form explode a lot more in APAC than other part of the world. And obviously, we were not the first mover, but I think at this point we have a really good product. I think we have multi-billion users watching across short form video. And also if you look at, let's say, our proposition on FAST. So we have this, we were working on this industry body called HBBTV in Europe, which basically allows you to ingest addressable ads in a linear TV. Basically, if the linear TV is connected to an internet connection, you can use the same technology that I talked about in this session and make it addressable, which is a massive opportunity, especially for markets or tools like FAST, where it has to be addressable. It's not just, and it's becoming more and more relevant. Like if you've seen the numbers, again, multi-billion-dollar opportunity by 2026.
I mean, this, I think, particularly for this market, which has really kept a very robust broadcast environment. And if you saw Knut Arne's presentation earlier, BVOD, which is not necessarily a term in the U.S., but yes, those services have come out of traditional broadcasting, or at least that offering. So you're really, I think, pointing the way to much greater revenue opportunities, but also some flexibility in terms of design and delivery.
Absolutely. I mean, the eventuality is that ads at this point for whatever next foreseeable future are growing faster than subscriptions. We've sort of about hit a ceilings in terms of subscriptions. Well, macroeconomic factors have a lot to do with that as well. So just focusing on one part of business is not going to really give you long-term gains. You have to focus on both subscription and ads. And the best way to drive ads is being maximum addressability. So if you're able to drive maximum addressability, that's where you derive maximum value for advertisers. And by making sure that we have standards that work across linear, digital, OTT, mobile, desktop, everything combined, you're able to provide a much stronger proposition to the end
Exactly,
advertiser.
and also satisfy the end consumer as well.
Exactly.
This is great. This has been fascinating. Jatin Dev from Google, thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris.